Hi, I'm Phoebe from Learn English with Stories 365. Today you're going to discover something amazing. You can speak English fluently without memorizing anything. Yes, you heard that right, no memorizing. No boring lists of words. No stress. Just fun, natural practice. Have you ever tried to memorize a long list of English words? Maybe you wrote them down, repeated them, and then forgot them the next day. I've been there too. It's frustrating, isn't it? Many learners feel this way. They think they need to memorize everything to speak English well. But here's the good news. You don't. You can speak English easily, and I'm going to show you how. Part 1. Introduction to speaking without memorizing. Imagine this. You're chatting with a friend about your day. Maybe you say, I went to the park. It was sunny. You don't stop to memorize those sentences, do you? You just say them. That's because speaking is natural when you're relaxed. Today we're going to practice speaking like that. No pressure, no memorizing, just fun. Have you ever wanted to speak English without thinking too hard? I bet you have. Well, you're in the right place. This video is all about making speaking easy and enjoyable. Let me tell you a quick story. When I was learning to speak English better, I tried memorizing vocabulary lists. I spent hours with flashcards words like apple, house, run. But when I tried to talk to someone, my mind went blank. Ever had that happen? It's like the words disappear when you need them most. Then one day I stopped memorizing. Instead, I started listening to simple stories and repeating them in my own way. Suddenly, speaking felt easier. I wasn't memorizing, I was just talking. That's the secret we're going to use today. You don't need to fill your head with lists. You can learn to speak by enjoying stories and practicing naturally. Here is a fun example. Think about your favorite song in English. Maybe it's something by the Beatles or Taylor Swift. Do you know the words? Probably some of them, right? But did you sit down and memorize the lyrics? No, you just listened and the words stuck in your head. That's how natural learning works. You hear something in a fun way, and your brain remembers it. Have you ever sung along to a song without thinking? That's what we're doing today, but with speaking. We'll use stories, not songs, to help you speak English without memorizing anything. Let me share something inspiring. There's a famous quote from Albert Einstein. He said, I have no special talents. I'm only passionately curious. Einstein didn't memorize everything. He explored and learned naturally. You can do that too. You don't need to be a genius to speak English. You just need curiosity and practice. And don't worry, I'm here to make it fun. No tasks, no pressure, just a simple, natural way to speak. What do you think? Ready to try something new? I know you are. Now let's get interactive. Think about this. What's one thing you love talking about? Maybe it's your favorite food like pizza or ice cream. Or maybe it's a hobby like playing soccer or watching movies. Have you ever talked about it in your own language? I'm sure you have. Hold that idea in your mind. We're going to use it later in this video. You don't need to memorize anything to talk about what you love. You already know the ideas, you just need a little English to say them. Isn't that exciting? You're going to speak English using what's already in your head. Here's a little humor for you. Some people think learning English is like training for the Olympics. They think you need to practice all day, memorize everything, and win a gold medal. But speaking English isn't a competition. It's more like chatting with a friend over coffee. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Have you ever laughed at yourself when you made a mistake in English? I have! It's okay to make mistakes. They're part of learning. Today we're going to laugh, relax, and speak without memorizing anything. So, what's this video about? It's about helping you speak English in a fun, natural way. We're going to use stories to practice speaking. No boring grammar rules. No long vocabulary lists. Just simple, everyday English you can use right away. Have you ever felt nervous about speaking English? Maybe you think, what if I forget the words? Don't worry. With this method, you won't need to memorize words. You'll learn them naturally through stories. It's like magic, but it's really just a simple trick your brain already knows how to do. Let's wrap up this part with something to try. You're going to love how easy this is. Today, I want you to do a small challenge. Say one sentence in English about your day. Don't plan it. Don't memorize it. Just say it. For example, I ate breakfast today. Or I walked to the store. Say it to a friend, a family member, or even to yourself in the mirror. That's it. One sentence, no memorizing. Can you do that? I know you can. It's the first step to speaking English naturally. Try it today and feel how good it is to speak without stress. That's all for now. You've taken the first step to speaking English without memorizing anything. Get ready for more fun practice in the next part. Stick with me, you're going to love this journey. Part 2. The power of context over memorization. Now that you're excited about speaking English without memorizing, let's talk about why you don't need to memorize anything. Have you ever tried to learn a list of English words? Maybe you wrote down cat, dog, house, and repeated them over and over. Did it work? For most people, it doesn't. The words disappear when you try to speak. That's because memorizing is hard and boring. But there's a better way. You can learn English naturally with context. Context means the situation around the words, like a story or a conversation. When you hear words in a story, your brain remembers them without trying. Isn't that amazing? You don't need to force yourself to memorize anything. Let me give you an example. Think about a time you heard a song in English. Maybe it's a happy song like Happy by Pharrell Williams. You know the words, right? You can sing because I'm happy. But did you memorize those words? No, you just listened to the song and the words stuck in your head. That's context working for you. The music and the feelings helped you remember. Have you ever sung a song without thinking about it? I bet you have. That's what we're doing today. We're going to use stories instead of songs. Stories help you learn English words and phrases naturally, without memorizing anything. Here's how it works. Instead of memorizing a word like dog, you hear it in a story. For example, imagine this. Sarah went to the park with her dog. It was sunny and they played fetch. When you hear dog in that story, you understand it. You see Sarah and her dog in your mind. You don't need to memorize the word dog because the story makes it clear. Have you ever learned something from a story? Maybe a fairy tale or a movie? It's the same idea. Stories make learning easy and fun. You don't need to sit with a boring list of words. You just listen and enjoy. Let me tell you a true story. There's a famous woman named Temple Grandin. She's a scientist who thinks in pictures, not words. When she was young, she struggled with speaking and learning like other people. But she didn't give up. She learned by seeing things in her mind like stories or pictures. Today, she's a professor and an author. She once said, I think in pictures and I connect them. Temple didn't memorize everything. She learned by understanding things in a natural way. You can do that too. You don't need to memorize English words. You can learn them by connecting them to stories. Isn't that inspiring? You're stronger than you think. Now, let's try something fun. I'm going to tell you a mini story. Listen carefully. Here it is. Sarah went to the park with her dog. It was sunny and they played fetch. Did you hear that? It's a simple story. Now, I want you to repeat one sentence from it. You don't need to say it perfectly. Just try. Maybe you say, Sarah went to the park, or it was sunny. Take a moment and say one sentence aloud. Go ahead, I'll wait for 10 seconds. Pause for 10 seconds. Great job. Did you notice something? You didn't memorize that sentence. You just heard it in the story and said it. That's the power of context. You're already speaking English without memorizing anything. Here's a little humor for you. Some people think learning English is like being a superhero. They think you need a cape and special powers to memorize everything. But you don't need to be Superman or Wonder Woman. You just need a story. Have you ever tried to memorize something and felt like your brain was running away? I have. It's funny how hard we make things. But with context, it's easy. You hear a story and the words stay with you. No cape needed, just a little practice and a smile. Let's talk about why this works. When you memorize a word by itself, like dog, it's just a word. But when you hear it in a story like Sarah's dog played fetch, it becomes part of something bigger. Your brain likes that. It's easier to remember a story than a list. Have you ever forgotten a word you memorized? I'm sure you have. But have you forgotten a good story? Probably not. Stories stick in your mind because they're interesting. That's why we're using stories in this video. They help you speak English naturally, without memorizing anything. Now let's make it interactive again. Think about a pet you know. Maybe it's your pet or a friend's pet, or even a pet you saw on TV. What's one thing that pet does? Does it run? Does it sleep? Does it eat a lot? Take a moment to think about it. You don't need to memorize anything. Just imagine the pet in a little story. For example, my cat sleeps on the couch. Did you think of something? Good! You're already starting to use context. You're connecting English to your life, and that's how you learn to speak. So, what's the big idea here? You don't need to memorize to speak English. You can use context instead. Context is like a friend who helps you remember. It's fun, it's easy, and it works. In this video, we're going to practice with more stories. You'll see how simple it is to speak English without memorizing anything. Are you ready to try more? I know you are. You're doing great already. Here's your daily challenge for today. I want you to tell someone about a pet or an animal you saw. It can be a friend, a family member, or even yourself in the mirror. Say 1 or 2 sentences in English. For example, I saw a dog today. It was big. Don't plan it. Don't memorize it. Just say it naturally. That's all. Can you do that? I'm sure you can. It's a small step, but it's a big win. Try it today and feel how easy it is to speak English with context. That's it for this part. You've learned why context is better than memorizing. You've even tried a little practice with a story. Get ready for more fun in the next part. You're on your way to speaking English naturally. Part 3. Practice speaking with everyday stories. Now that you know how context helps you speak English without memorizing, let's practice with some everyday stories. You're going to love this part because it's all about speaking naturally. Have you ever told a story in your own language? Maybe about what you did yesterday or what you ate for breakfast? I'm sure you have. It's easy because you don't think too hard, you just talk. That's what we're going to do now, but in English. You don't need to memorize anything. You just need to try. Are you ready to have some fun? I know you are. Let's start with a simple story. I'm going to tell you one and then you'll try speaking it back in your own words. Don't worry about being perfect. It's not a test, it's practice. Here's the story. Yesterday, I went to a cafe. I ordered coffee and sat by the window. It was raining outside, so I read a book. Did you hear that? It's a short everyday story. Imagine me at the cafe, sipping coffee, watching the rain. Can you see it in your mind? Good. Now, I want you to repeat this story in your own words. You don't need to say it exactly like I did. Maybe you say, Phoebe went to a cafe. It was raining. That's fine. Take a moment and try it. I'll wait for 20 seconds. Say it aloud. Pause for 20 seconds. Great job. Did you do it? I'm proud of you. What just happened? You spoke English without memorizing anything. You heard my story and you said it in your own way. That's the magic of this method. You don't need to memorize sentences. You just listen to a story and talk about it. Have you ever tried this before? Maybe not, but you're doing it now. It's easy, isn't it? You're already speaking English naturally. Let's keep going. Here's a relatable example. Think about your day. What did you do this morning? Maybe you woke up, ate breakfast, and went for a walk. That's a story. You don't need to memorize it because it's your life. For example, I could say, this morning I ate toast and drank tea. Then I walked to the park. It's simple, but it's a story. Now think about your morning. What did you do? Did you eat something? Did you go somewhere? You don't need to memorize anything. Just imagine your morning and say it in English. You can do it. Have you ever talked about your day with a friend? It's the same idea. You're just doing it in English now. Let me share an inspiring story. There's a famous writer named J.K. Rowling. You probably know her. She wrote the Harry Potter books. Before she was famous, she was a single mom with no money. But she loved telling stories. She didn't memorize her books. She imagined them and wrote them down. One day she said, I just kept going because I loved it. Her stories became famous because they were natural and real. You don't need to be J.K. Rowling to tell stories. You can start with small ones like what you did today. That's how you speak English, by sharing your own stories, not by memorizing anything. Now, let's try something interactive. I want you to think about what you ate today. Maybe it was breakfast, lunch, or a snack. What was it? Was it bread? Was it rice? Was it something sweet like cake? Take a moment to think about it. Now say one sentence about it aloud. For example, I ate bread this morning. Or I had rice for lunch. You don't need to memorize anything. Just say what you ate. I'll wait for 10 seconds. Go ahead and try it. Pause for 10 seconds. Fantastic. Did you say it? You just told a tiny story. That's speaking English without memorizing. Here's a little humor for you. Some people think speaking English is like doing homework. They think they need to study hard and memorize everything. But it's not homework, it's more like playing. Have you ever felt like English was too serious? I have. But when you tell stories, it's fun. It's like telling a friend about your day. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to try. And if you make a mistake, laugh about it. I've said funny things in English by accident, and it's okay. Mistakes are part of learning. Let's talk about why this works. When you tell a story, you focus on the ideas, not the exact words. For example, in my cafe story, the ideas are, I went somewhere, I ordered something, it was raining. You don't need to memorize the sentence, I ordered coffee. You just remember the idea and say it your way. That's how you speak naturally. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to talk about something you know? That's what we're doing here. You're using what you know to speak English. Now, let's make it practical. You can use stories from your life every day. For example, talk about what you ate, where you went, or what you saw. It doesn't need to be a big story. Just a few sentences. Like, I went to the store. I bought milk. That's enough. You don't need to memorize anything because it's your story. Can you think of a small story from today? Maybe something you did or saw? You're already good at this. You just need to say it in English. Here's your daily challenge for today. I want you to describe what you did this morning in 2 or 3 simple sentences. Tell it to a friend, a family member, or even yourself in the mirror. For example, I woke up. I ate breakfast. I watched TV. Don't plan it. Don't memorize it. Just say it naturally. That's all. Can you do that? I know you can. It's a fun way to practice speaking English. Try it today and feel how easy it is to tell your own story. That's it for this part. You've practiced speaking with everyday stories. You're doing so well. You don't need to memorize anything, just use your life to talk. Get ready for more fun in the next part. You're on your way to speaking English naturally. Part 4. Building confidence with natural phrases. You've already practiced speaking with stories, and now it's time to build your confidence. In this part, we're going to use natural phrases to help you speak English even better. These phrases are simple, and you don't need to memorize them. Have you ever felt nervous about speaking English? Maybe you think, what if I don't know the right words? Don't worry. You don't need to know everything. You just need a few easy phrases that you can use every day. These phrases come from stories, not from boring lists. Are you ready to feel more confident? I know you are. Let's start with some natural phrases. These are things you can say in many situations. For example, I like to is a great phrase. You can say, I like to eat pizza, or I like to watch movies. Another phrase is, it was fun. You can say the park was fun, or the movie was fun. And one more I went to. Like, I went to the store, or I went to school. These phrases are easy, right? You don't need to memorize them. You'll hear them in a story and they'll stick in your mind naturally. Have you ever used phrases like these in your own language? I bet you have. Here's a mini story to show you how these phrases work. Listen carefully. Last weekend, I went to the market. I like to shop there because it's fun and colorful. Did you hear that? The story used all three phrases. I went to, I like to, and it's fun. Imagine me at the market, walking around, looking at bright fruits and vegetables. Can you picture it? Good! Now, I want you to try saying one sentence from that story in your own words. Maybe you say, Phoebe went to the market, or she likes to shop. Take a moment and say it aloud. I'll wait for 15 seconds. Pause for 15 seconds. Great job. Did you do it? You just spoke English without memorizing anything. Let's make it more personal. Think about your life. Where did you go today? Maybe you went to work or school or a friend's house. What do you like to do? Maybe you like to read or play games or eat good food. And what was fun for you? Maybe a movie was fun or a walk was fun. You don't need to memorize these ideas. They're already in your head. All you need is a little English to say them. Have you ever told someone what you like to do? It's easy in your own language, and now you're doing it in English too. Here's an inspiring quote for you. The famous basketball player Michael Jordan once said, I can accept failure, but I can't accept not trying. Michael didn't become great by memorizing how to play basketball. He practiced and tried again and again. Speaking English is the same. You don't need to memorize everything. You just need to try. Every time you speak, you get better. And with these natural phrases, it's easy to try. You're not failing, you're learning. Isn't that exciting? You're building confidence every time you speak. Now, let's try something interactive. I want you to pick one phrase. I like to, it was fun, or I went to. Think about your day or your week. What can you say with that phrase? For example, I could say, I like to walk in the park. Or I went to the store today. Or the weekend was fun. Take a moment and say one sentence aloud using one of those phrases. Make it about your life. I'll wait for 15 seconds. Go ahead and try it. Pause for 15 seconds. Fantastic. Did you say it? You just used a natural phrase to speak English. That's how you build confidence, by speaking about your life. Here's a little humor for you. Some people think speaking English is like being a magician. They think you need a magic wand to say the perfect words. But you don't need magic. You just need simple phrases. Have you ever felt like you need a trick to speak English? I have. But the truth is, there's no trick. It's just practice with easy phrases. And if you make a mistake, it's okay. I've said silly things in English like, I went to the chicken instead of kitchen. We can laugh about it. Mistakes make learning fun. Let's talk about why these phrases work. They're natural because you hear them all the time in real life. When someone says, I like to play soccer or I went to the park, it sounds normal. You don't need to memorize them because they fit into stories. And when you use them, you feel more confident. Have you ever noticed how good it feels to say something in English? That's what these phrases do. They help you speak without thinking too hard. You're not memorizing, you're just talking. Now, let's make it practical. You can use these phrases every day. For example, when you talk to a friend, say, I went to the store this morning. Or when you're relaxing, say, I like to watch TV. Or after a fun day, say, it was fun. These phrases are like little tools. You can use them anywhere. Can you think of a time today when you could use one of these phrases? Maybe when you ate lunch or went somewhere. You're already ready to use them. Here's your daily challenge for today. I want you to use one of these phrases, I like to. It was fun, or I went to, in a short conversation. Say it to a friend, a family member, or even yourself in the mirror. For example, I like to eat fruit. Or I went to school today. Don't plan it. Don't memorize it. Just say it naturally. That's all. Can you do that? I'm sure you can. It's a fun way to practice speaking English. Try it today and feel how confident you are with these natural phrases. That's it for this part. You've learned how to use natural phrases to build confidence. You're speaking English without memorizing anything, and you're doing great. Get ready for the final part where we'll put it all together. You're almost there. Part 5, putting it all together. You've made it to the final part, and I'm so proud of you. Now it's time to put everything together. You've learned how to speak English without memorizing anything. You've used stories and natural phrases to practice. Have you noticed how much easier it feels? I bet you have. In this part, we're going to do one last practice and give you a plan to keep speaking every day. Are you ready to finish strong? I know you are. Let's start with the final story. Listen carefully. Here it is. Today, I went to the park. I like to walk there because it's relaxing. That's a simple story, right? Imagine me walking in the park, feeling the fresh air. Can you see it? Good. Now I want you to tell your own version of this story. Use your life. Where did you go today? What do you like to do? Maybe you say, I went to school. I like to learn there. Or I went to the store. I like to shop. Take a moment and say your version aloud. I'll wait for 20 seconds. Pause for 20 seconds. Great job. Did you do it? You just spoke English without memorizing anything. Here's a relatable example. Think about your day. Where did you go? What did you do? You don't need to make it complicated. For example, I could say, I went to the kitchen. I like to cook there. It's a small story, but it's real. You can do the same. Maybe you went to work or school or a friend's house. What do you like to do there? You don't need to memorize anything because it's your life. Have you ever told a friend about your day? That's what you're doing now, but in English. It's easy when you use your own stories. Let me share an inspiring story. There's a famous man named Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years in prison, but he never stopped learning and speaking. He once said, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Mandela didn't memorize speeches. He spoke from his heart. You can do that too. You don't need to memorize English. You just need to practice with your own words. Every time you speak, you're changing your world. Isn't that amazing? You're stronger than you think. Here's a little humor for you. Some people think speaking English is like climbing a mountain. They think it's hard and scary. But it's not a mountain, it's more like a walk in the park. Have you ever felt like English was too big to learn? I have. But with stories and phrases, it's fun and simple. You don't need to climb anything. You just need to take small steps like you've done in this video. Now, let's talk about the future. You can keep speaking English every day. Tell a small story about your day. Use phrases like, I went to, I like to, or it was fun. For example, I went to the park. I like to walk there. It was fun. That's 3 sentences and it's enough. Do this every day and you'll get better and better. Can you imagine how good you'll feel? You're speaking English naturally without memorizing anything. Here's your daily challenge for this week. Tell a small story about your day in English every day. Use 2 or 3 sentences. For example, I went to work. I like to talk to my friends. It was fun. Say it to a friend, a family member, or yourself in the mirror. Don't memorize it, just say it. Can you do that? I'm sure you can. Try every day this week and watch your confidence grow. Now let's recap everything. Here's what we covered. You don't need to memorize to speak English. Use stories and context to learn naturally, like Sarah at the park or my cafe story. Practice speaking with simple tailies from your day and use phrases like, I like to, or I went to. You've already started speaking without memorizing anything. Keep it fun and try the daily challenges to build confidence. Thanks for joining me, Phoebe, on Learn English with Stories 365. Subscribe for more lessons. You did it! You've taken a big step towards speaking English with confidence. Every word you say, every story you tell, brings you closer to your dreams. Learning English is an exciting journey, and you're not alone. I'm here with you, and so is our amazing community. If you enjoyed this video, please support us by subscribing to Learn English with Stories 365. Your subscription helps us create new videos that make learning English more fun and effective. Don't stop. Now keep practicing, keep growing, and keep believing in yourself. Also, join our Facebook group, Learn English with Stories 365, to connect with learners around the world. Together, we'll make English speaking easy and enjoyable. You're amazing, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.